Hey guys, Joe Hildreth here from myheap.com. It's been a while since I've been out in the shop, and things over the last few weeks have started to free up, job changes and that sort of stuff, that I've been able to get out here and sort of piddle around and clean up. Now, if you've seen anything other than what's behind me, which is quite messy, you would know that I got my hands full. But anyway, that's beside the point. So I have several of the workshop practice series books, right? Been very helpful, interesting projects and things like that. But one book in particular, the Harold Hall Tool and Cutter Grinding, he has a simple tool rest for a offhand grinder, bench grinder, to sharpen tools, and with a little care and additional accessories for the bench grinding attachment, you can sharpen things like, slitting saws or end mills or things like that. So I thought, it might be interesting to build, right? I've been out of the shop for a while. My head's not in the steam game right now, and although I'll try to get it back there, I thought, well, I'll build that. And I was looking at the drawings, and I noticed, like, well, you got to have some dovetails. Well, I have a milling attachment for my lathe, and I thought, well, I can maybe possibly use that because I don't have my mill back together yet. That's coming though. So I'm sort of fiddling around with it and whatnot, and I can't find a good position to put the lathe in, or the milling attachment in. So I thought I would build a little fixture that I could mount in the milling attachment to align my work pieces in such a way that I can cut the dovetails on the side. Let me bring you into the bench and I'll show you a little closer. So I'm not real sure how this shot's going to turn out. I'm using a GoPro, and I haven't used this thing in a long time. But essentially, this is the attachment that I've made, and it's just a flat bar with a fixed jaw, right, that can mount into the milling attachment, and then a slidable jaw that I can mount my workpiece in, like so, right? And then you'll see that I have marked over here on the side, maybe, where I'm going to cut the dovetail. So now this is not the milling attachment that I'm going to use, but you get the idea. The milling attachment sits on the lathe, like so, when they cross slide. And then the idea is that this will go in here, and then I could put a piece of packing there and bolt this down. Now I know that does create a lot of hangover, but I'm hoping that I can take very light cuts and get the job done. So I'm going to go over to the lathe and take the removable jaw off here, and let's indicate this in the device just to make sure that we're going perpendicular to the spindle. So I'll see you over at the lathe. Okay, I've mounted the lathe attachment to the lathe and I've squared the attachment so that it's perpendicular to the spindle, at least as much as I can get. You'll see a little movement here in the needle, but I think it's within a thou, so that will probably be just fine. Like I said, there's a little fluctuation, but not too bad, considering I have very inexpensive indicators, and this lathe is 75 years old. So, alright, so I'm going to mount my little attachment piece in here, and then I want to run the indicator across this fixed jaw, which might be a little rough, I don't know, and make sure that it sets in there. And it should, if I done my layout real well. And if the face of this is square to the bottom of the the vise here, the milling vise, it should be pretty good. So let me get that set up and I'll bring you back in. Okay, so I have my little fixture clamped into the milling vise, and I set this up so that there was about a 1/16 inch of clearance. Well, what would be about a 1/16 inch of clearance between this and the front of the jaw. Even though this doesn't touch the jaw, it guarantees that my bottom plate will slide all the way back into the vise. So since I indicated the vise in, this should be fairly square. But now this is hand built. This is, hand laid out, hand drawn, doing my best to So I know that the jaw really is not square to the vise. So let's run here and see how far we're off. So it looks like I'm about 14 thou or 13, 14 thou off from being perpendicular over about 3.5 inches. So I'm going to loosen the bolts on the bottom of the milling attachment on the lathe, and I'm going to tap this until this is square, and then I'll bring you back in. But that only took a couple minutes, so let's sweep this across here. So there's a little needle. Looks like there's a high spot right there, and sort of tapers down. So it's not the, it's just cold rolled steel, but I think within a thou, variation along the length of 3.5 inches would be fine. I think the longest piece that I'm cutting is just a little over 2.5 inches. All right, so the next thing I need to do is mount the cutter. I have a 5/8 dovetail cutter that I want to put here and get my get it set, start cutting, and then I think when I'm ready to cut, I'll bring you in. Okay, I tried to put you at eyeball level. I had to move the workpiece all the way to the back of the jaw in order to get over the center line of the cutter, and I have just enough clearance on the bottom, so I think it'll work here. So I'm going to turn on the lathe. I'm running about 416 RPM. I'm going to reach up until I just touch off, and then take I don't know how well this is going to do, so I want to try about 10 thousandths. Okay, I've just touched there. Alright, I'm going to look at my dial up here and eyeball it, lock the feed, slide. Let's see what happens. Well, that seemed to do pretty good. Go back in. Take a little bit of a heavier cut. Okay, that done pretty good. I'm not going to sit here and make you watch every pass. So when I get down to the last couple passes, I'll bring you back in. So I know this is pretty loud and you probably can't hear me. So I'm having to take very light cuts. I started out, about 20 thou and then dropped to 15. And now I'm dropping down to about 10 thou cut. And I'm only going to cut deep enough for the dovetail to fill the whole piece right here. So it's kind of noisy, so I'm not going to make you guys watch any more of it. When I get this finished, I'll bring you guys back in. Okay, well the piece is freshly off the lathe. So hopefully we can take a look at that. So it did cut the 60-degree dovetail. I'm not real happy with the finish, but considering what I'm working with, I think I can file some of these tool marks out enough. And this is not a precision slide or anything. This hole that you see on the other side will get a locking screw. And then, of course, this piece will get a dovetail on both sides that will slide in this one. And then this one will get one on one side, just like this in here. And that'll be trapped in there. And then these two holes you see on these outer pieces here, those will be attached to the grinding rest table. So, I only got 3 more to do. So, wish me luck. Okay, guys, I've finished milling the dovetails on the 3 pieces. This will get a feed screw which will lock the dovetail, and then this gets a feed screw which will advance it, so you see that works pretty good. Now the finish isn't that great, but for what this is, I don't think it's really going to matter, because there stands to be a little player slop in here so it can be locked, and this will advance the table forward and backwards, and in and out toward the face of the grinding wheel. So with those 3 pieces done, I'm going to stop there, and that's the end of the cutting dovetails on the Atlas lathe. So with that, I think we'll bring this video out. Well, hey, look, thanks for stepping in the shop with me and having a little fun, or at least I thought it was fun, and let you know that I'm still breathing, kicking, and alive, and all that sort of stuff. I have other things that I want to do. I'm slowly getting a little bit more free time. For the last couple years, it has been very hectic with my job. I've changed positions, and I'm thinking that I should get a little bit more free time. You know, an hour here, an hour there. How much I'll record, I really don't know. But after doing this little experiment with cutting a dovetail on the using the Atlas lathe and an Atlas milling attachment with a dovetail cutter, I think that's going to work for my project that I'm working on. But it does incentivize me to get my mill put back together. And I think the last thing I showed was building the little wooden bench that it's going to go on. I think I'll finish that up and just continue on with that series and see if we can get it together. There's a lot of people out there I'd like to thank for hanging out and keeping in touch. Kevin, you know who you are, and Chirpy, and there's several others. Anyway, thank you very much. And other than that, have a blessed day.